You feel about it. If you're a student, if you're a parent, and you have some concerns about fees must fall, let us know what your opinion is, and we can actually go into it in detail with the students and the lecturers.
Give us your questions. I mean, this is your chance. If you've been listening to the news, reading the papers and whatever, and going, I would like to ask them this. Now is your chance. They are going to be with us. Gooi 'n bietjie vir ons daar. 37942. Any questions you would like to ask?
Previously on Greed.
Hey Naidu, what do you want to do? 1 second, 3 seconds, or 5 seconds?
1 second, of course, Rian.
Back in 90.
Ah, come on, back in 90.
Is it Sean Kingston, Beautiful Girls?
Okay, Naidu, the song is...
This is
Sean Kingston! Okay, you've just won yourself 10,000 Rand.
Oh my God, that's excellent.
Okay, madam, go celebrate.
Wow, I will.
Greed on the complimentary breakfast.
Timber City announces the easy way to an affordable new kitchen. Insta-cupboards. Ready-made cupboard carcasses. For kitchens and bedrooms. They're pre-assembled, not flat-packed. Plus, you choose the color of your doors and worktops, and Timber City will cut, prepare, and deliver them.
It's quite nerve-wracking, I'm not going to
There's
lie.
an uprising in studio tonight. All right, so we've invited some of the guys from University of Pretoria, Tux, to come and join us this evening. And things are going to get a little bit, not crazy, because I don't want it to get crazy, but I want to we want to have a conversation about this, all right? And the main reason for me, for inviting you guys in, is because I feel like, and maybe Lalama wants to jump in here, but I often feel like the message gets very muddy.
Yes.
It gets very muddy over the week. All right. So when Wits Must Fall, Fees Must Fall started last week, that was the idea. Then over the weekend it changed. Then it changed again during the week, and now and then all the universities got together. And so let me allow Lalama to speak, who is part of UPrising. It's #UPrising. You're first. Okay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You look very smiley for someone who's been busy for so many days in a row.
I actually just had an energy drink before I came here, just to keep myself and my spirits up. In terms of what you were just saying, I agree. Because universities take so long to respond to students and their demands, I think they have a sort of delaying tactic. So they won't get back to you until it's all fizzled out and now it's not an issue anymore, because people are very quick to forget. And especially at the University of Pretoria, we've experienced it in the past with other movements where they'll delay until things fizzle out. And we're saying this time it can't happen like that. We will be doing what we're doing for as long as needs be, for as long as it takes for them to answer us and get back to us regarding our demands.
All right, so.
Okay, so when it comes to the situation that we're in at the moment, what is the basic thing that you're fighting for?
Yeah, so maybe just give us a recap of what's been happening over the week, where we started, and then what the main thing is.
Yeah. The main thing is really what we started with at the same time. It's still one thing.
So it's about the fees.
Yes, it's about the fees. It's about a lot of economic related issues at the university, but specifically right now we're talking about the fees.
Okay.
We want no fee increment at all.
At all.
Okay.
So it's no fee increment. It's not pushing to the point of free education.
Free education in our lifetime, but we understand that right now that is not feasible.
Okay, you see, but that's wonderful, because that's firstly one of those muddied messages that have just convoluted the issue over the last week, because obviously the debate from yesterday that I've been hearing people say is about free education, and you're going, guys, we can't go from zero to hero.
Yeah.
So you're saying no increase this year?
Yes, no increase this year, probably no increase ever. If we're going by the logic that we want free education in our lifetime,
we got to start scaling back.
We need to start scaling back and putting measures in place to reach that goal, to make it more attainable. It's not attainable right now, but we believe it can be.
Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, the premise of this is just that fees have become exorbitant and difficult for students to cover.
Crazy. And I can speak, obviously I'm here speaking about my experience at the University of Pretoria. There are many other things that we have to pay exorbitant prices for.
Such as?
Printing, food, things like that.
Registration fees.
Books. The fee increment specifically right now relates to registration fees as it stands. But who's to say, yes, they've told us about registration fees right now, and then next thing, we leave this thing and they tell us tuition needs to go up too.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the right-hand side of the studio where both are.
Berto.
Bota?
Berto, like-
Say Bota, man. Say it Bota.
Like Roberto, just Berto.
Oh, Bota.
Berto.
Oh, Bota. Okay.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome here to Jack Ryan FM. You're also a student at the university, right?
Yes, final year.
But you don't agree with this?
I don't think it's very feasible to say no fees. I did the maths recently. If we look at what Wits said, they released their budget. They spend 5.4 billion rand a year on everything that they do. They get 1.2 billion rand from the government.
So okay, hang on. But you're saying the no fees thing isn't a good idea. What about
just can't work.
What about this? The increases that we're talking about at the moment.
0.0 increase.
Yes, Lalama's talking about.
I just don't think that that's fair for the university at all. If they're not matching inflation, the university is the ones that's suffering. If they can't manage the 10% already, if we look at how we're entering a recession right now, I mean, if we look at the second quarter growth, we've actually gone backwards. How can we say that at 6% matching inflation, that's too much, and you want to take it to 0%? Where's this money going to come from? These are questions that the movement is not answering.
All right. So hold on. So Lama's chomping at the bit there. Let's just ask Salma quickly.
Yeah.
So where are you also a student at the university?
Yes, exactly.
But you're an international student at the university.
Exactly, which means double trouble. I'm actually from Mozambique. Because, well, you know...
Why did you come here when you have these beautiful beaches out there? Come on, right? I'd be on the sun, lying in the sun all day long.
People who have beaches also want to be educated.
Okay.
So,
all right. People who are educated want beaches.
I know.
It's
an interesting paradox, but I'm here.
What happens now that you're an international student? You said that there's a double trouble for you. What does that mean?
Okay, so actually I'm from SADC region, as you know, and fortunately, you know, thanks to political agreements, we can pay the same tuition as South Africans. However, as Ulama mentioned, one of the biggest problems that people are fighting against right now is really the increase of registration. As an international student, I paid the registration fee, which let's say was 5,000 last year, plus an international levy before that of 3,500 that allows me to unblock so that I can register. So already I'm paying, 7,000-8,000. And now the university
before the year
even starts, that's my registration.
And now that's increasing in any case. So you're looking at what was it, 7,500 rand?
That's registration alone, plus the international levy. But now, not only that, the university only demanded that next year we pay an early deposit. So it started initially with 20,000 rands. And then it dropped to 10,000, fortunately. But can you imagine for students that are not from SADC region and have to pay 40,000 rand in January?
Jeez.
Just to attend
register, just to be in South Africa.
All right, let's take a song. We've got our three positions here. All right, I didn't know we had an international student here. We must swap details. I want to come visit your beaches. Let's take some messages as well. So you've got the students on the line. I know that you've been listening to this on the news all week long in the papers, whatever. Drop us a text right now.
Yeah, keep your SMSs coming in 37942. We've got some interesting ones already. We're going to keep discussing it with the students as well. We've got Dr. Duplessis in studio with us, who is a lecturer, a sociology lecturer.
I want to find out if these kids are actually studying from her. That's the number one question I have.
Jacaranda FM.
The Late Show. Before that, Sugar Ray every morning. Frankie and Claire with you till 1 o'clock. We've got some of the uprising students, the Tux guys that have been part of the protest. Come and tell a few sides of the story, because I've just gotten confused over the last week about what's happening. I want to ask Berto, can you share with Michael Marie? Michael Marie's from the Perde Bay.
She's the editor of the Perde Bay, which is the newspaper at Tux.
Which is, the campus newspaper.
Correct.
So the two of you, because the two of you are outsiders of this, basically. All right. So Berto's saying that he doesn't really agree with this, and Michael Marie's been obviously sort of as journalist covering this. Give me your perception of what the protest has been like. So what's been happening?
On Wednesday, it was Wednesday, yes. The protest started, and the whole week it's been largely peaceful on campus. There's a large number of students that have turned up, about 2,500 I reckon, sometimes more and often sometimes less, just depending on the time of day. But they've mostly been walking around campus, on Hatfield campus, and then in the streets of Hatfield, and they've been largely peaceful, often staging sit-ins at intersections on the road, stopping traffic, but never interfering with the public. And there's been a great amount of control, especially from the leadership, that have kind of just made sure that when someone maybe tries to overstep a boundary,
they put them back.
They put them back, and not just from the leadership side, from people in the protest. It's everyone looking out for each other, kind of like, hey, you can't kick over that dustbin, pick it up, you know.
So has that been happening? Because
no.
because we've seen photos and videos and on news stuff where it hasn't been as controlled.
Peaceful as
controlled,
described as.
Maybe is the word.
You know, in comparison to the other universities in the country, Tux has been exceptionally peaceful.
And I will agree with you on that. Yes.
And we've seen a lot of misguided information, incorrect information on Twitter, on Facebook, on media platforms. There's not been violence at all.
Okay.
There's been no tires burning. There's been no
stun grenades.
Yes, no police interaction in that way. The police have been around, but it's really just to marshal students, to guide them. It's not been to provoke.
So they're not being confrontational at all.
No, and the protesters aren't being confrontational in that manner. They're not going out of their way to injure people or be violent with people. It's really, they've got a message and they know what their message is. And they're going out there and they're bringing their message to the public.
Okay.
But in a way that the public can respond to them positively.
Let's ask Berta there. Do you agree with what Michael Marie has just said? Has that been your experience?
I have to admit that Tux has been very peaceful, and I do have a lot of respect for that. I think we do have to acknowledge that at some of the other universities, students that have been trying to study have been confronted.
That's what I was going to ask. Could you go to the cafeteria to buy your overpriced burger and study and do your studying and stuff?
At Tux today, no. I was actually on campus today to go see the protest, and it was very peaceful, just people sitting around, but everything's closed, can't get into the library, the stores are closed.
For safety, I suppose.
Yeah, for safety, no, definitely. But if we look at what's happened at other universities where students are trying to get onto campus, trying to study, and protesters are stopping them, I just don't think that's fair. I mean, your right to striking is not mutually exclusive to someone else's right to go study.
Yeah.
You don't have to interrupt their studies for you to have a protest.
Okay.
I don't think that's necessary.
So Lalama is part of the uprising movement. I want to say the boss of it, but it's not quite. I suppose
She's the spokesperson for uprising.
The face of it tonight, which is nice. It's nice to have a face. I made that joke when you guys walked in this evening, because when when there's a protest like this, and you see thousands and thousands of students at every campus, it sometimes feels a little faceless to me. It feels like it just becomes a blur of people and who are screaming all the time. So, Lalama, have they summed it up accurately? Is that what uprising has been like this week?
That's a hesitation, which is a little worrying.
For the most part, we're the reason why we've gone into the library, and we weren't allowed inside the library because everything is shut down. Can I just make this clear? We didn't shut anything down.
Yes.
The university shut everything down.
But because that's the safety of their students.
They're a little scared, I suppose.
We've been preaching peaceful protest from forever, from our inception. We've never made any threats.
Why do you
think
the university actually did that?
Okay, people might call me a conspiracy theorist.
Aliens. It's aliens.
I think they thought that, because you know what happened was literally the night before that they sent out these SMSs to students to say, don't come to school tomorrow, there is no school tomorrow, everything's shut down. They're thinking students are going to lose momentum, students are going to get scared, oh my gosh, what's happening, so this is not happening anymore. And we were like, no.
So your conspiracy is that you think that they did this to try and stop the movement. Is that okay? That's what you're trying to say in a nice roundabout way.
They could have asked themselves, what's the point of us marching if no one's there?
Okay.
Do you think that what has been happening at the other universities has influenced the decision of the University of Pretoria?
To a little extent, because I think I personally know from past experience that the university is very trigger happy when it comes to calling insecurity.
But can I ask you this question? All right. So, like we've heard now, the University of Pretoria, I think to a large degree has been a very unique situation because you guys haven't gotten out of hand and haven't gotten out of control. Do you agree with what's been happening at the other universities? Like if we take Wits, if we take what's happened in the streets there, downtown Joburg, Lutuli House today, we look at Cape Town. I mean, do you agree with how the students sometimes get a little bit out of control? Do you think that's helpful, is what I'm saying?
I think we need to clarify first and foremost, it's not an issue of a blame game, but to a certain extent, I think students are trying to protect themselves from what's happening to them first. You get tear gas.
So you're saying that
you can't see. If you're doing this, you might hit.
Okay,
doing this, I'm waving my hands right now. Yeah. You might hit a police officer, but that's not you being malicious. It's because there's tear gas in your eyes and you can't see what's happening.
Well, I'm going to say that maybe that's a little bit of a leap, but I will agree with you. I will agree with you that the police. In this, I mean, that's been part of the problem. When the police get called in for protesters, you're looking for trouble. You're looking for an aggravated situation. It's bound to happen. It's going to explode. It's that kind of thing. But and this is the thing I wanted to ask. I know Claire wants to know this as well. How has that journey been to get this message through? Because that's why guys end up on the street. You guys have been talking about this no fees increase for a while now. So tell me about that journey. Tell me about how difficult it has been to get that message through to the right channels.
It's been very difficult. As it stands, we have already handed in sort of a memorandum with a list of demands to our Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University, Professor Cheryl Delaray. This happened on Wednesday morning, early afternoon, and we told her this is an urgent and pressing matter that the university needs to address, but she has not since gotten back to us. And it's been a long time. It's been over 24 hours. We're wondering what's the delay? Why a delay? I mean, if anything, tell us maybe if you're making progress or if you're discussing it somewhere, but there's radio silence on the matter.
So in terms of the channels you have approached or followed, so you've gone to the university. Do you think that is the way to get this done? Does the university have the power to do this, is what I'm saying?
I don't know if the university has the power, but I definitely know that they have the money.
All right. So you're saying this is a money issue.
Yes.
All right.
I can say from my side, a lot of people say it's speculation. Once again, I'm a conspiracy theorist, apparently, but it has been confirmed by students who sit in meetings with management that at a certain extent, someone in management has bragged that they make billions in profit. And now you're sitting there with student leaders telling you about student issues, students sleeping in the library. We've seen this happening earlier in the year. Students who have back debt that can't register, that want to come back to school but can't register. Students who are hungry, who have to go to class hungry, and then you're going to come to a meeting with those student leaders and they're talking to you about this and you're going to be like, ha, ha, ha.
Okay.
We make billions in profit.
Okay, so I have a question around this one, because tomorrow the march is from or to the union buildings, which is kind of a contradiction in kind of what you're saying now, in that your gripe is rather with the university than with an entity like the government. So what is your opinion on tomorrow's march to the union buildings?
I've said this before, but obviously not on a platform like this, that we start with the university.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. What's the next step after that?
We start with the university, but government mustn't be complacent. We're coming for them too, because they have a responsibility too. Specifically, the Department of Higher Education, the minister, the deputy minister, the men and women who are in power and should be taking control of the situation however they can. Recently, our minister was cited as saying that this isn't a crisis.
Yeah, and hashtag students
must fall.
See, because I was just to come up, just to step back a little to that thing about this, the universities making billions. Is that an actual fact? Like, have you seen that? Have you seen that on paper?
Berto would like to say
Berto
something.
I haven't found Tux's expenses report. I found UJ's recently. This is a bit of an old one. It's from 2010. Here, the operating income 2.1 billion, and their expenses, they actually ran at a loss of 50 million rand. So if we're
the reason I say this is that universities aren't there to necessarily make money, and I think that the nature of what they are doesn't allow for it. Although many of them do have commercial arms who are trying to bring in money. So I mean, there's those commercial arms that in my mind subsidize some of the different departments inside the university itself. But sorry to interrupt you. You were saying, so the next step is government. You feel that government has to take a role in this.
Definitely. There's been a lot of people raising the issue as a counter argument to say, but government has reduced its subsidy to universities over time, and that's why universities feel the need to increase the increment and things like that.
So those are facts, though.
Yes, definitely. That's why. Why is the university then not prompting government to say, no, you can't do this to our students?
You see.
Sort of a thing.
Okay.
So we'll take it into our own hands and tell government that.
All right. So there's one more question I have for you. So obviously 10% in Witz's case, and that's a lot. That's above inflation for various reasons as well. Bladen Zamandi over the weekend pulled together universities quite quickly, and that he put a 6% cap on the increase. But you won't accept that either.
Not at all.
Why?
0%.
But why? But if we say that a university still has to stay with inflation, as every company out there, everyone who's working will tell you, your increases are usually based on inflation. If you're lucky, you'll get more. The university has to survive in some way. Are you then saying that's not good enough because you feel like government should get involved and those subsidies should come from government side? Is that what you're saying?
That too, but is a university a company?
No, but everything gets more expensive.
Yes.
So if you want the best lecturer in the world, which you have at Tux, that lecturer also needs to buy bread every month and feed her family. All right?
Dr. Irma?
No, don't look at Dr. Irma.
We'll get
These
there.
these are facts of life. I mean, Dr. Irma will be the first person to tell you she's not living in a massive house on Diamond Drive out in Pretoria East. She's not making that kind of money off the university necessarily. Okay, sorry. Do you want to jump in here?
Chip in here. My personal opinion about this entire movement, it's not that I disagree with it. I think first and foremost, we need to acknowledge that the big success has been, mobilizing students.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about that just now because it's a massive positive thing, I think.
Yeah, but the point that I want to get across is about, what are we fighting for as students? And this is my main problem with the entire movement. Now, I can see very clearly, maybe because, I've been accused of, not having a loyalty to a political party or anything of the sort. But if we look at our campus activism and if we look at the face of student activism, it is heavily connoted with political affiliation. And as an international student, because I'm not necessarily attached to whatever conflicts and whatever narratives go on in this country in terms of politics, I really see that if you look at the leadership of the majority of the movements going on right now across the country, these are being led by students that are affiliated. And then you need to ask the question, if we can say that, okay, the government is clearly under some sort of an obligation to address, the education crisis, why are we misdirecting our anger and frustration to the university?
When there's another avenue.
And not just the avenue, it's a matter of, okay, fine, we can bring the people together and we have the resources, but are we not misdirecting it? Why are we only marching to the union buildings tomorrow? When you could have started then, why are we allowing ministers to say things such as students must fall? What gives them the confidence?
Is it not because the university is an easy point of access for students?
Not only that, but I would also say that it's politically motivated. Obviously, if you are a student and if you have the aspiration of being a student activist, as you have seen the culture of civic action in South Africa usually takes place in the university space. So you need to realize that when students enter the university space in South Africa, they're not only going thinking, oh yeah, I want to graduate and I want to be smart.
So you're saying it's a little bit of opportunism as well?
It's definitely, any minimally political mind will tell you that, the entire narrative of what's going on is political opportunism. I mean, everyone wants to be an activist these days. Who wants to be left out?
Lulama had a comment on this.
I have to disagree to a certain extent because as a movement, when we started this, it was very important for us to emphasize that we are non-politically affiliated.
Yeah.
We want to feel we won't accept any pressures from any political party on campus. The thing that we've seen at the University of Pretoria and the way that it's set up is that a lot of movements are maybe started or spearheaded by political parties, and then you only get their constituencies there.
Yes.
For that specific movement. And what has happened and what we've seen happening with UPrising is that because we didn't affiliate ourselves with any political party, and this is not happening under the banner and the leadership of any political party, is that students came out in their numbers.
Yes.
That student who said, I'm not going to go to that march because I can't relate to that political party, has been here at UPrising from actually Tuesday night. We started occupying the student center on Tuesday night. We slept on campus for literally 2-3 hours between like 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. And we woke up again and we said, let's start this. Official program starts. So the political thing, I can hear it. I can definitely hear it. We have a history at the university, but this specific movement is
not about that. It's about all students, regardless of where you come from.
Trying our hardest to be inclusive and also conscientize the apathetic student, because we had people who didn't even care about movements like this to begin with, who we engaged with on a one-on-one basis, because we made sure our leadership is deployed to go speak to students personally and make them aware of why we're here, why we want to do this.
All right, I think we should take another song. My brain needs a breather. All right, we got it.
If you just kind of tuned in whilst Frankie gets his brain back together, we're speaking to a number of students from the University of Pretoria that are talking UPrising, talking Fees Must Fall. The UPrising. We've got Bertu in studio, who's a student, as well as Selma, who's an international student, and Dr. Duplessis, who's going to be talking to us in a little while. She's a professor in sociology.
I just want to find out if the kids are studying. That's all I'm going to ask her one question. That's literally all I'm going to ask. Let's take a quick break. We'll play a little tune as well, and then I want to find out whether, Lulama, whether you feel like you guys are winning. All right, we want to know that next.
You've been searching for that,
which is the movement by the students at the University of Pretoria that's been happening since Tuesday this week. We got a few of the representatives in here, some of the students. We're checking all your tweets. Thanks for your tweets. You can keep them coming through at Jacaranda FM. Otherwise, give us a text message. Old school 37942.
We got actually quite an interesting question that was kind of directed at you, Lulama. It says, why couldn't you answer when you asked about the lecturers needing to get paid as well? You can't just say no increases. There's a reason why we are one of the top universities, because of quality. And you pay for quality. Some of those lecturers work 3 jobs to pay their bills and get where they are now. And you want to come and say free education. How is that fair? Free education equals low standards. Education will mean nothing because you won't be educated by the best.
Okay, what I got from that comment was the university is also exploiting lecturers, because as it stands, and this is just my opinion, as it stands, the university has the top lecturers in South Africa, in the world. They're competing out there with the best of the best, yet they're still not paying them enough. And it's not because they're subsidizing students, it's because they're keeping a profit and money in reserves.
Okay. Maybe we should ask a lecturer about that. We happen to have one in studio with us tonight. Irma, how are you? Do you want us to call you doctor?
Irma is great.
Is Irma fine?
That's
okay,
great.
Irma is fine.
So you're a professor in psychology at the University of Pretoria.
I'm a doctor in sociology. And I'm just saying doctor because I'm not a professor.
Okay.
All right.
So doctor in sociology at the University of Pretoria.
So what are you saying about? Let's quickly tackle that comment.
Yes, I've been wanting to.
Please, then tackle it. All right.
You see, I think it's a bit curious how we think about the public sphere and how we think about universities, as if they are comprised of, in some way, as if there are not different kinds of groups in universities. So students are bringing a number of, some people call it demands, we can say it's a number of claims. They claim certain things. And we'll see they're slightly different, let's say at UP from WITS, but there's a great theme running across.
Yeah.
What I find peculiar is that everyone is expecting, let's say, the student body to speak on behalf of all constituencies, as if lecturers can't speak back and make a claim themselves or a counterclaim.
So
likewise management, likewise alumni, likewise support staff. Because I think what's partly happening in the country, and the student movement in some ways has been more successful to scratch open something that we haven't settled in our democracy, and that really is, what kind of society are we? On a macro scale, but also institutional level. In other words, it's a social contract. The students make a particular claim.
Yes.
They don't need to resolve the question of our salaries.
But this is what.
And why don't they need to resolve it? Because what this process is a process of negotiation.
Yeah.
It's a process of saying, in the society, there's no space for anyone to hide. We can't have it all, maybe, but the students don't have to tackle that question. We all have to tackle it and sit together.
Because that's what I'm saying. A question like that, for me, arises from all of us on the outside. Going, yeah, but what about the poor lecturers? Now they don't get increases. You know, where's the money for their increases? And you're saying that's a different fight, and you'll fight that on your own.
I'm saying not on our own, yes, but I'm also saying I think something that I've seen as a consistent theme is that student movements, including this one, is asking the university to open the books.
Yes.
Okay. So in other words, and actually in some ways they're asking the state to open the books. It's a kind of conversation that says, look, we're making claims. In this case, some of these claims are really backed up by the Constitution, by aspirations we have. Whether we can afford them is a question of the negotiation process, the opening up, the transparency, the starting to speak about what is important and what's not important. And what I worry about, and it's not that I think these debates are not complex, I worry about the fact that if we immediately expect of a movement, which itself is trying to cover a very broad base, if we expect them to answer the questions, we're actually closing the debate. And we're allowing many parts of society, including staff, and to not speak.
Yes.
Who are we? What can we live with? What can't we live with? How can we solve a set of competing demands? But if we try to solve it right here, in asking a student movement to take full responsibility, as I say, we allow soft spaces. We allow people not to come out and say, what do we want?
Because that was going to be my next question. In terms of, we've spoken about what we want. We've spoken about how it's been going so far. And the next question for Lalama was going to be, all right, so what's the next step? Where are you? Marching to Union Buildings tomorrow?
Yes, we are marching to the Union Buildings tomorrow. Reason being twofold. We're standing in solidarity because it's not just us. UJ will be there.
Yes,
Birds will be there.
Finally, we're going to see everyone come together.
Yes. And that sort of unity in numbers already speaks for itself. We're taking this very seriously. We stand in solidarity with other universities, and I think that's the most important thing. Yes, we're fighting our own good fight, but when it comes to government, now we need to come together as a collective and address this on a national level. It's just so unfortunate that our universities are so spread apart. It would have been nice to have people from Stellenbosch here, because I think the catalyst for this whole thing was Open Stellenbosch. Hashtag Leicester, things like that. Roads must fall, especially. And we'd love to have had those students and leaders here with us as well.
So when you're standing at the Union Buildings, and that's why I wanted to ask you tonight, is to say, cool. So now I think everyone's pretty clear on what you want immediately. The immediate thing is no increase. The long-term goal, which is I think a goal that as a country, and that's what the doctor is saying as well. As a country, we got to think about the long-term goal of what it would mean to have access to education regardless of where you come from and how much money you have. The money is the issue. So let the money not be the issue. Let how hard you work be the issue. If you work hard enough, you get into university. That's the South African dream, if you want to call it like that.
But that's quite a long-term goal. That's not going to be coming anytime soon.
No, but that's what I'm saying. This is a, like you were saying, in our lifetime. All right. Tomorrow in front of the union buildings, what are you hoping the response from the union buildings will be? What is the best outcome?
Best case scenario, already there's a meeting between the president and apparently student leaders and some vice chancellors or something like that. I'm not too sure on the point of the vice chancellors, but there's a meeting between them, and we want this. We have a question, like, who are these leaders and who contacted them? Because there are a lot of people who've been in the forefront of the movements who are like, I haven't even heard anything.
Yeah. So you asking
do they have a monopoly?
Who's the president speaking to?
Yes. Does he have a monopoly on who he chose to liaise with for a specific reason or agenda?
Yeah.
That's a bit of our query. So first we need to address that. Then we need to address perhaps how he's going to call his minister into order.
Okay.
For us to realize and work together towards this dream that we have.
So you're saying you're looking tomorrow for a commitment from the president of our country to say, yes, we're going to make this happen. All right. Before next year. Is that what you're saying? So for the year of 2016, the school year, he must sort this out before anything gets going next year. And then if he doesn't do that?
It's hard to say.
Have we not? You're like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes, because we don't want to. I don't want to think about the worst case scenario right now.
But what if he says, let's open this conversation, let's take this debate forward? We're talking a month or two before the end of the year. I mean, sorting this kind of, but just you know what kind of behemoth it. I mean, just registering a tuck, standing in that queue will take you 5 days. So like. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine the kind of wrangling that needs to happen budget-wise, all these things to sort of make this thing happen? So are you saying that if he says, let's open this conversation, I'm going to take it seriously, are you willing to say, okay, cool guys, let's go back to school, let's write our exams, and let's wait for the political process to sort itself out?
I don't think we can do that. Because if we leave them to it, we need to play an active role and an active part in this. Because if we do that, then we're allowing them the space to give us what they want on all of their terms, and then give us a document or whatever and say, here, we gave you what you.
I think we should get Salma's opinion on this. She's got a concerned look on her face.
Yeah,
Sorry,
pretty much.
Pose a big to the left. Go.
Really? South African tendencies. But actually, so, we're speaking about now what happens if what we want to happen doesn't happen tomorrow. I think we really need to be realistic, and I think I can just add a little bit of skepticism to this debate. We really need to distance ourselves from, romance and politics. When we do march there tomorrow, it's not even certain that the president will come out and address the students. And just looking at the history of South Africa again, can you really name me one instance, before, not the Madiba phase that was like amazing and beautiful, but can you name a recent instance where you can say that truly the youth stood up and got heard? And something that we must also discuss is that this movement is
got hurt or got heard?
Heard. Yeah. And we need to also discuss, what does it take for youth to be heard in South Africa? Must you be militant, or must you be intellectualized, or
I think that's a great point that we spoke about earlier about how peaceful the protest has been. And the prof wants to get in here. Oh, sorry, doctor.
Well, I get the point about when is someone being heard, but just as a small example, and I think that is why we here, in many ways, is earlier this year we were aware of the staff as lecturers. Fees have increased, especially the upfront payments. We are aware this is coming on the back of another year. We were raising it. Our students were worried, and seriously worried. These are exceptionally exorbitant fees. In fact, the deficit has been passed on to students. We raised it, civil, lightly. We raised the meetings. We were worried.
This is
nothing happened. Okay, and then Wits went on strike on fees, and then university reduced that.
It's the frustration of the students.
In other words, my point is whether people like the form, what it can deliver is not clear, but what is clear is...
It takes that to listen.
They were heard.
Yes.
I mean, in other words, they were heard, and then the University of Pretoria followed. And in other words, it means I agree with the point about what does it take to be heard. And I think that's one of the things that we're trying to fix in some ways through this process. In other words, there's a breach of trust. You fix it as a result.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the consequence
So
of
maybe
mobilization.
that's
It's
a
the
lesson.
consequence of making a whole set of claims.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's partly why I'm here in the studio tonight, is whatever my thoughts about it, we were clear in our department. I think the heads of departments in our faculty, we were clear. But in fact, did we mobilize? Did we come out and say, look, if we do this the second year in a row, if we actually ask our international students to pay 40,000 Rand, 20,000 Rand for our 10,000 Rand, I think I'm not right about that figure, but what's going to happen? This is the same time, it's after Christmas.
Yes.
It's when school fees need to be
So you're
paid.
saying-
In
so you're
families,
saying
there's
that-
competition, not competition, but
Yeah.
competing interest.
Yeah.
This is for our postgraduate students, just as a practical example, they don't get paid between October, November, December, January.
Yeah.
3-4 months, no pay. Right at that moment, it's really like a decision. It seems maybe from the outside not significant. But at the time when these fee structure increases were going to go through. In fact, they were there already for a couple of months, if I'm right. Nothing happened. And what they would have done is we would have seen many of our students not coming back.
But I think this is partly, and as a country, it's a big thing because we've had protesters in this country for a long time now, and as a country, it's been a thing. That's what it takes for someone to listen, and everyone feels, man, I got to protest before I get heard, and that's where we are today. But we're gonna have to. I think we have to wrap up this conversation for this evening. As we were saying, the next step is the union buildings tomorrow, Lelama, and you will let us know how that goes.
Yes.
And then you're going to have to take it from there. The one thing I want to ask, and everyone's asking this on the text line as well, what's happening with the exams? What's going to happen with the rest of this academic year?
The university sent out SMSs saying that tests and exams will be rescheduled. So I'm assuming that we might be moving into exam season well into December, maybe.
Okay.
And we don't mind that. You know, the time for the revolution has never been convenient. If not now, then when?
But you're still committed to education as hard as what you were.
Tonight we had a protest and pause campaign where the students who were part of the protest during the day could come back to school in the evening, bring their books with them, and we all convened in the Chancellor's building to be studying, writing assignments and things like that.
Okay.
I just want to say that on the SMS line, you did mention that you don't mind going into December. A lot of the people that are actually coming up with the topic of what happens with exams is on the point that December is a problem. So if you look here, there's one already that's saying, I do mind writing in December. The SMS here saying, please ask, when are we going to write exams? Are we going to write them over Christmas and then strike again afterwards?
Yeah. Well, I think that the answer to this is, and that's what I'm saying, we're going to wrap it up this evening because I think we're going to go in circles.
Yeah.
There isn't an answer to that yet. The big thing is that the students, from what I've seen, you guys have said we've taken it through the university channels. The university can't. They seem to not have an answer. They are passing the buck, and you're basically following the buck. So at the moment, the buck is at the union buildings tomorrow morning, and we'll see what the president says, and then you guys are going to decide what to do. I think the whole and everyone listening to Jacaranda and everyone in the Pretoria will say, if we can keep it peaceful, that'd be very nice. Thank you. For everyone's safety.
Yes.
All right. And I think I'm pretty sure, and I've spoken to a few parents as well who have kids in varsity, and all of them are saying it is getting out of control, and this movement is for everyone. And I want to applaud you guys specifically for that, for saying this is for everyone movement. This is not a political thing. It's for everyone. It's for education in this country. That's it. Any last words? No.
When these fees fall, they will fall for everyone. Just saying, whether you were part of the movement or not.
So get behind it.
No, you don't have to.
It's up to you.
You don't have to. It's up to you.
So leave it there.
The greater battle here is that you guys are fighting for education.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, good luck with your fight, and let's see what the president says tomorrow. I'm actually quite excited. Do you think he's going to read those numbers right, or is this a different...
The Martin Bester Drive.
Ek is Heineke Meyer en jy luister aan die Martin Bester Drive. Karakter kan 'n mens nie afrig nie. Karakter is wanneer jou land jou nodig het, wanneer dit druk is, wanneer jy bedeer kom. Fourie, ek is baie trots op hom. Hy's 'n wenner. Hy's net so gedrewe soos ek. Hy's nie 'n man wat baie praat nie, maar hy weet dit is sy laaste World Cup. Hooplik kan ons al die pad gaan en 'n great afskeid vir hom vir 'n speler wat een van die beste spelers wat ek nog ooit afgerig het en hy's 'n taktiese genius.